Have you ever been somewhere you thought was completely empty, only to realize you weren't alone? A few years ago, I started a new night shift job as an IT technician at a corporate office on the edge of the city. Most of the building had been abandoned for years. Floors were locked, desks were covered in thick dust, and the lights barely worked. My task that night was simple: check the servers on the 12th floor and make sure the backup systems were running. I had done overnight shifts before, and I liked the quiet. A building to myself, no coworkers to bother me, no small talk. This should have been easy. But as soon as I stepped out of the elevator, something felt off. The 12th floor was silent in a way that wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, oppressive, almost like the walls themselves were watching. I shook it off, blaming my imagination. Buildings make noises, shadows move. Easy to explain, right? I walked down the hallway, my footsteps echoing unnaturally against the concrete floor. I set up my laptop on a dusty desk and started logging into the servers. Then I heard it, a faint creak behind me, like someone stepping on old floorboards. I froze. The sound was deliberate, slow and steady. My heart skipped. The floor had been empty for years. There shouldn't be anyone here. I told myself it was just the building settling. But then the sound repeated. I grabbed my flashlight and slowly moved toward the server room. The lights flickered as I walked, and then, just at the edge of my vision, I saw movement, shadows flickering between the desks. I froze, trying to rationalize it. Maybe the reflection of my light, maybe just dust floating, but something inside me screamed that it wasn't just dust. I whispered hello, but there was no answer, only silence. Then, from the far end of the hallway, I heard a soft metallic click. My stomach dropped. Someone was here. I fumbled for my phone to call security, but no signal. The elevators weren't responding. I was trapped on this floor with whatever or whoever was stalking me. Finally, I reached the server room, double-locked, reinforced doors. I punched in the code and the doors slid open. Relief washed over me. I thought I was safe, at least temporarily. I booted up the main server system, and that's when my blood ran cold. On the security feed, a badge scan popped up. Someone had accessed the 12th floor less than 10 minutes ago. The ID belonged to an employee who had died in a car accident 3 years earlier. My hands shook as I tried to rationalize it. Could it be a glitch, a misread? I wasn't sure, but I did know one thing. Then the footsteps started again, this time louder, echoing in a slow circle around the server room. The fluorescent lights flickered violently, shadows moving across the walls, and then I saw it on the monitors. A figure standing at the end of the hallway, perfectly still, staring, not moving toward me, just standing there watching. My pulse pounded in my ears. I tried to move toward the elevator, but the lights in the hallway went out completely. Panic set in. My flashlight flickered. The shadow figure seemed closer than before, and I could feel its presence, though I couldn't see it. Every instinct screamed at me to run. I bolted. By the time I reached the elevator doors, my hands were shaking, my chest heaving. The doors opened instantly, almost like they were inviting me out. I ran in and hit the button for the ground floor. As the elevator moved, I glanced at the lobby monitors. The figure was now behind the glass doors, unmoving, staring directly at me. I didn't stop until I was outside, breathing the cold night air like it could cleanse me. When I looked back at the building, the 12th floor windows were dark again, as if nothing had happened. I reported it the next day. Security said no one had been on that floor, no badge scans logged. The ID, real, but the employee had been dead for years. I never went back alone. Every time I pass that building at night, I swear I see someone watching from the top floor. Have you ever noticed someone who seems out of place, yet impossible to ignore? A few years ago, I started working the overnight shift at a small gas station on a remote stretch of highway. The town around us was quiet, almost ghost-like after midnight. There weren't many drivers at that hour, and I often spent long stretches alone, restocking shelves, wiping counters, or staring at the dark highway outside. Most nights were uneventful, and I liked it that way, peaceful, predictable. Then he showed up. At first I thought it was just another late-night traveler, a man in his 40s, dressed in a long coat, worn boots, and a hat pulled low over his face. He didn't buy anything, he just walked around the store slowly, deliberately. Nothing alarming, maybe he was lost, I thought, but then I noticed a strange pattern. He started showing up every single night at the exact same time, never speaking, never leaving any money on the counter, just moving through the aisles. I tried to brush it off. People can be weird, right? But something about him was unsettling. The way he looked at the shelves, the way his eyes seemed to linger on me just a second too long. I started feeling watched, even when I wasn't looking at him. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to check the security cameras. I thought maybe I could catch him on tape, maybe figure out what he was doing, but what I saw froze me. On the footage, the door never opens, not once. The bell above the entrance never rings. Yet there he is walking through the aisles, slow, deliberate, staring. Not entering, not leaving, just existing inside the store. My stomach sank. I rewound the tape, played it again, same thing. There was no sign of him entering. I tried to tell myself it was a trick of the cameras, a glitch, maybe a reflection, a shadow. But that didn't explain the way the lights in his aisle would flicker slightly as he passed, like the bulbs themselves were reacting to him. That night I stayed after my shift, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. I walked the store from end to end, checking doors, windows, and the surveillance system. Nothing. Every entrance locked, every camera accounted for. And yet I could feel it, the presence of someone watching, lingering, just out of reach. Then while restocking the shelves near the back corner, I heard it, a whisper, soft, almost a breath against my ear. I spun around, nothing. The aisles were empty. The night outside was still. I didn't sleep well that night, and I started noticing more small things. A chair slightly moved from where I left it, a product knocked over on a shelf I had already checked, footprints in the dust behind the counter that didn't match my own shoes. Weeks passed. I tried to ignore it, but the sightings, the strange noises, the unnerving feeling of being watched only grew stronger. One night I stayed after the store closed, determined to catch him. I turned off all the lights except the ones above the aisles. I waited. Hours passed. Then slowly I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, pacing the perimeter of the store. I flicked the lights back on. Nothing. I checked the cameras, empty aisles, no entry, and yet I could feel it. That same heavy, oppressive presence, like a shadow walking just behind my shoulder. The last night I saw him, I was finishing my shift when he appeared. Same coat, same hat, same slow, deliberate steps. But this time he walked right past the shelves and into the back storage room, the door I had locked. I froze, my hands trembling. I wanted to call for help, but my phone was in the office at the other end of the store. Then he stopped, just stood there in the dim light, and finally, after what felt like hours, he whispered, though it wasn't a word I could understand, more like a hiss, a sound that crawled under my skin, and then he was gone. Not out the door, not into the shadows, just vanished. I quit that job the next day. Have you ever taken a ride late at night, only to realize that your driver might not be who or what you think they are? A few years ago, I was working a late-night delivery shift for a rideshare company. It was a quiet night, fog rolling in off the highway, headlights cutting through the mist. Most of the rides were short, uneventful trips through familiar neighborhoods. But then I got a request that stood out. A pickup on the outskirts of town, at the edge of a highway rest stop I rarely visited. When I pulled up, the passenger was already waiting. A man in his 30s, wearing a dark hoodie and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He didn't speak, just got in the back seat. I tried to make conversation. "Where to?" I asked, but he only whispered the address in a voice barely louder than the fog around us. The ride started normally. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror. There was something about the way he sat, completely still, hands folded, eyes hidden, that set me on edge. It wasn't just shyness. There was something deliberate, watching. About 10 minutes into the ride, the road started twisting into a rural stretch I didn't recognize. It was narrow, lined with dense woods on either side, the fog thickening with every turn. I checked the GPS. The address didn't match the route at all. I tried asking, "Are you sure this is the right way?" No answer, only the quiet hum of the engine and the soft hiss of tires. I felt a prickle of fear. Something about the stillness of the back seat, the darkness outside, and the mist curling around the headlights. It all felt wrong. Then I saw it, shapes shifting at the edge of the light, pacing alongside the car, moving exactly with us. I blinked, trying to convince myself it was just trees in the fog, but the shape seemed alive, deliberate. My pulse raced. I took a deep breath and tried to focus on the road. Maybe I was imagining it, maybe it was just branches swaying, but then I felt a tap on the back of my seat, a soft, deliberate tap. My hands gripped the wheel. I glanced in the rearview mirror. His head was tilted slightly, watching me. And then, very slowly, he said, "You're almost there." Almost where? I swallowed hard. My voice caught as I asked, "Where are we going?" No answer, only a whisper of the fog against the windows and the faint sound of movement outside. The figures in the trees were still there, silently pacing. I took a turn onto a smaller dirt road. The fog thickened so much that I could barely see 10 feet ahead. My headlights caught glimpses of more figures just standing among the trees, watching, not running, not moving. My passenger leaned forward slightly, voice barely audible. "Keep driving, don't look back." I wanted to ask why, but my instincts screamed that asking questions wasn't safe. The figures seemed to react to my gaze. I kept my eyes on the road, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, heart pounding. Finally, the dirt road opened into a small clearing, a run-down, abandoned gas station. Lights flickering, pumps rusted, the building dark and hollow. I slowed down, unsure why we were stopping here. "Here," he whispered. I stopped the car, the mist swirled around us. The moment I glanced up at the building, I froze. There was someone or something standing in the shadows behind the glass doors, not moving, just watching. And in that moment, I realized something horrifying. The figures outside weren't ordinary people. Their faces were pale, eyes too dark, limbs unnaturally still, like statues waiting for something. And they weren't alone. More shapes emerged from the fog, surrounding the car, silently pacing. I turned to my passenger. He removed his cap, revealing a face I'll never forget, completely blank, emotionless, and yet smiling. "It's time," he said softly. I slammed the door, locked it, and tried to start the car. The engine turned, but the headlights went out. The mist thickened, curling around the vehicle like living smoke. I could hear the soft scrape of feet on gravel all around me. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the mist lifted, the road straightened, the shadows vanished. My passenger was gone. The clearing was empty. Only the flickering gas station lights remained. I never saw that man again. I checked the address he had given me. It didn't exist. The gas station, real but abandoned for years, with no record of anyone ever working there overnight. Sometimes, late at night, when the fog rolls in and the headlights cut through the mist, I swear I can still see those shapes pacing alongside the road, waiting for the next ride.